So I found this big old rust patch while I was removing all the excess police wiring on my police intercept utility. And this is where this wire goes up into an antenna, and they did not properly seal it. Probably based on the looks, they didn't properly seal it when they installed the antenna in the first place. But additionally, when they removed it, it looks like they didn't plug up on the top very well either. So it's really important to address these kind of things when you first get an interceptor, because if you own it for any amount of time and you let this sit, it can create all sorts of issues. So I don't even need these radio antennas, and most people don't anymore, so it's pretty easy to remove. We just have to remove the nut that is holding this piece on right here, and then this will just slide right through. So we just need to go to the top, and I'm just taking some vice grips, and then I can hand thread it off, and then it's not too hard. And then I'm just going to cut this because it's a lot easier than fishing it through. Then here's where they did try to patch the one of the holes more forward up, and you can see how easily I just pulled that off. That was definitely leaking water. And if we go on the underside on another one of these holes, they just put this big old glob of RTV silicone, and you can see light sticking through. Once again, pretty poorly done. These little rubber grommets tend to crack out, and then they rust on the underside, so we're just going to remove this. And then we're going to try to do our best to scrape as much of this stuff away as we can. We're going to be putting some more back on, but we're going to be doing it kind of tactfully instead of just glopping it on there and praying for the best. So I'm just using a scraper, and on the inside of the body where I'm at, it doesn't really matter so much, but on the top, like here, you want to make sure that you're not scratching the paint very well, or too bad. It's not a big deal if you do scratch into the clear coat or the color too much, but we just don't want to go down to metal, because then we'll just create even more rusting problems. So I'm just scraping this RTV away, and then on this stuff up here, it's kind of hard to get it off, so I use some adhesive removers. I'm going to start with this Dissolve It, and then we'll go to this 3M General Purpose Adhesive Cleaner, which is really good stuff. So I'm just going to soak this down and let it sit for a couple of minutes. Now that it's been a couple of minutes, I'm going to come through with my scraper and just lightly scraping up to see how much comes off. I'll reapply as needed, and then just keep it coming. And the idea is just to get the surface level off, down to, and then there's gonna be some adhesive on the underside, but we'll do some more aggressive strategies for that. So now that we've gotten that scraped off as much as we can, I'm putting some of this adhesive remover. You don't have to use these products. There's a lot of products out there. I just found that these ones work really well. So now I'm actually getting the most of the base layer of the adhesive off. But there's going to be a lot of residual, so I'm going to bring out the eraser wheel. And these are pretty awesome because you can just put them on your drill. And you don't want to use these on plastic though. You only want to use them on metal because they'll melt right through. Then I'm taking this carbide bit. You don't have to use this exact bit, just any bit. I even found those old cheap ones at Harbor Freight work pretty well. And what I'm doing is just removing the rust that is built on that inner lip, because obviously the top and the underside are painted, but that inner lip where they drilled the hole is just raw metal, which is where all the rusting is starting. So I'm just trying to remove all that rust on that lip, and then a little bit around the edges. See, like this one's flaked pretty bad because it went for so long. So I'm actually breaking out the sander with, I think this was 120 grit sandpaper at the time. And then I switched to 80 grit. And I'm trying to keep the repair area really small. And so I'll get the bulk of it with the sander and then come back with that carbide bit. But then I actually found that this little Harbor Freight like sanding stone was really cheap, and it worked really good for fitting in these holes because it just helped round out the hole and Dremel away all that rust. Then I'm going to hose it down with some cleaner. And then on the underside, same deal, just sand this down. And there's going to be like black scarring where there was rust. For the product we're going to be using, you don't have to get all the pitting gone. You just need to get all the rust and have all clean metal around the repair area. We're going to be using this Eastwood Rust Encapsulator Plus. They also have a platinum that's silver that might be better for silver vehicles, and it's also a really good product. But I'm going to use this stuff. I really like this because you only have to apply one thick coat. Now I'm not being very careful about staying small on the repair area on the underside because this is all getting covered up by the headliner. But I'm just being really careful that I'm coating all the bare metal and then also the little lip right in there where the hole was drilled. And on the top side, I'm being a little bit more careful. So I'm just careful because I'm going to be covering this with a cap, but I don't want to go beyond the size of the cap as much as possible. But the number one priority here is covering the metal. So there you can see our forward hole. I just kind of got that painted up a little bit. There's our back one. It's the next day and it's all dry now. And so what I'm going to do is take this silver tape. This is aviation grade and it's super expensive, but it's a bit more rigid, but you can just use HVAC tape, which is a lot cheaper. And the whole point of this is just to create a backing, so when we put some RTV on the top, that it doesn't just fall through the hole. That's really the only role this plays. I would never use this tape just to keep water out, because you're just going to create more rust. So I'm going to take this black adhesive RTV, and the police departments like to go crazy with this stuff. You really don't need a ton. The whole goal here is we're creating pretty much like a rubber gasket, or like a rubber grommet, if you will, but out of RTV. And so I'm just kind of kneading this around with my spreader. It doesn't need to be pretty because, like I said, we're covering this with a cap, but the idea is to collapse the voids as much as possible, so it's making a good mechanical bond all the way around the hole. So now we'll do it with the front hole. Just spreading it around and collapsing those voids and touching all the edges of the circle. Put a little bit more on this front one, just because it's a bigger hole. So to give these a good cosmetic appearance, I've made these carbon fiber reinforced polycarbonate caps, and they just have this very high bond 3M, the VHB, double-sided tape. And it's one continuous unit. There's no seam on it, so once you peel this away and press it on, it will create a really tight bond all the way around that's watertight. So you just push it on over the hole, and you make sure your surface is clean before you do this. And if you want, you can go and put a little bead around the base here with some more RTV, but just keep it really small so it doesn't look ugly, and that will just give it a little extra. But you really don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that in this application, but if you just want a little peace of mind, it's cheap insurance and you already have the RTV out, so might as well. If you need these caps, I have them on my website at 3dem200.com, and the link will be in the description. They come in a 2-pack because most people have multiple holes, and when they're all finished, I think they look pretty good. I tried to make them look as factory as possible, kind of like a low-profile antenna. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and thanks for watching.